we can use AI to make clothes instead of like poetry. Just a thought. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is something that I just kind of wanted to talk about and express my feelings and my frustrations on. And really that is about like giving up on environmentalism and just kind of like giving in to the way the world is and handing it over and being like, you know what, whatever, you win, destroy the planet, I don't care anymore, I've fought long and hard enough, and it seems like nothing's changing, no one's really like taking notice of it, no one's really doing anything, and like you can only talk about it so much before you want to see action and change. And I'm just a little frustrated with environmentalism, not like with the movement as a whole, not with any specific individual, but just with the structures and systems in place. And maybe it's because I'm young, I'm impatient, and I want things to happen like immediately and with huge, massive change and like overhauling an entire system. And I understand it's not going to be like that. But I gotta say, I think there are a few things that make environmentalism like unattainable at a certain point. Like there's a certain point where I have to say, okay, I can no longer afford to take the high road, or no longer afford the time and energy it takes to seek out sustainable options all the time, or I can't afford to pay top dollar for products that are going to last the longest time ever. And I do recognize that those are things I myself have said. I'm like, oh well, if you just plan a little bit of extra time for it, or save a little bit extra money for it, like you can afford it, you have the time, you have the energy, and not really like taking into account that like I had extra time on my hands. I didn't really work a full-time job. I was working part-time and still being able to pay the bills, but I wasn't quite working like full-time and doing more than paying the bills, like actually saving and investing and like, I don't know, just having a different kind of mindset. Like I've come to realize sustainability is something, or environmentalism, or like true trying to like change your ways does take so much time and so much effort, and then also so much money behind the scenes. And I guess what I'm talking about more specifically is consumer goods. That is something that takes a lot of energy, time, and money to buy the more sustainable or organic or environmentally friendly option, which it just shouldn't be like that. Like I think for me, my focus on sustainable fashion, I've come up against the frustration of not being able to find very affordable pieces and trying to scour the internet for hours at a time just trying to find something I feel good about purchasing. And recently I did make a pretty big purchase, but I went on the Good On You website and saw that it was like a good enough rating for me to want to buy from them, so I did, and I felt kind of like good about it. But at the same time, like I had spent literally weeks trying to find items to buy, because this is my entire wardrobe behind me right here, and it's pretty bare, and not in the way that's like, oh, I have like nothing to wear, like I hate everything. It's like genuinely I'm like not got a lot of clothes to wear for like the fall and winter, and part of that is like I'm constantly on this like purging process and trying to like have minimal possessions. But at the same time I moved, so a lot of the things like I did just kind of need to get rid of or donate or try to resell. And then also on top of that, like my style is continually evolving, and like I'm evolving as a person, so I do want my outward expression to reflect that. Like I want more of an elevated style, less of like a artsy fartsy kind of style. Like I think that looks good and cute on certain people. I don't believe I'm one of those people, or I don't, not even that, it's just I don't feel like that anymore. You know, when you were like in high school and maybe you had free dress and you're just experimenting with like everything under the sun. I definitely had that moment. I was like DIYing shirts, making things all the time, and I loved that. And then as I got older, I was like, okay, well I don't have time to like constantly be crafting, so let me like buy from the thrift. And now I'm kind of at a stage where it's like, okay, I don't really enjoy crafting the same way I used to, and I want my style to reflect like a more refined kind of taste. But with that, the only brands that like immediately come top of mind are like Everlane and Reformation, and those are like honestly out of my price point. Like I don't want to have to save like $2,000 to buy like a handful of items, you know? Like if I want to fill my cart with 10 items that I'm gonna wear time and time again in and out the seasons, I don't want to spend 2G just for that. You know, like I'm not one of those people that can afford to do that. I have goals beyond my consumption. Like I want to travel, I want to visit friends, visit family, go to new places, make memories, spend money on like experiences. So well, yes, I guess I technically could afford it. It's just not something that's not where I want my energy and consumption to go. And I think that's my biggest frustration is the consumer goods recession of environmental brands. I actually just saw a post on Join Beaker, and it's so funny because this is exactly the frustration I was coming up against when I was like looking and searching for clothes. I feel like I don't want to sound like spoiled or like, oh, like woe is me, like I can't find a sustainable fashion brand that's affordable, but like genuinely that is the biggest barrier to entry for so many people that do care about sustainable fashion, but they just simply can't afford it. And I do feel like I'm one of those people, and like I said, I've spent days, hours, like trying to, like a week over of just trying to find a brand that I even wanted to shop from. And it just shouldn't be like that when you have so many consumers like me that really want to contribute to the sustainable fashion movement, but simply just like are blocked out, and then they're gonna go to like Temu or Shein or Forever 21 or Amazon even, and just like shop there because it's affordable, it's accessible, and maybe it has like next day delivery, which is insane in and of itself. But that's my entire point. And Beaker made a post about the like sustainable fashion recession, and I was like, oh my god, that's exactly the frustration that I'm feeling. Is like I knew there was like a glut of brands at one point, like there was like an oversaturation in the market of brands to choose from, but now when I go shopping, like I can't find anything. Or like maybe it's a UK or Australian brand and like they just don't ship to the US, or shipping is like $25 alone and that kind of stuff. But I also do want to recognize that like you can't just be a fair weather environmentalist. You can't just be like, oh, like green technology is picking up and it's getting so cheap, like now I'm gonna jump on the bandwagon. Like you do have to be a person that kind of advocates for it day in and day out, either with your immediate circle that you can influence, or your politicians and like people that you vote for, or even like your online community or your in-person community. You know, I do feel really proud of myself that I still take public transit, I still carry a water bottle, I still carry lunch in reusable containers. Like I really don't buy coffee that often, like in just a throwaway cup. I have a reusable cup, or I bring my own coffee. And like those kind of day in and day out activities that do kind of change your consumption habits and patterns, because it's a little bit more mindful, it's a little bit more conscious. So I am proud of myself for, in those terms, kind of being more environmentally conscious, environmentally friendly, and that hasn't been taken away from me, and I don't think it ever will be, because now it's like a part of my life. But beyond just like the little tiny habits that you can shift and change, it's the bigger picture of like, what are we buying, what are we consuming? And like that's where my frustration really lies, is like I don't sew, I can't sew. I've tried. I mean, I didn't try that hard, I'll be honest, but like I did try for a little bit. I, you know, gave it a shot, gave it an honest shot, and it just wasn't for me. It's not something I'm good at. It's not something I particularly enjoy. I don't feel like it's like crocheting, or like that's a little bit meditative, but like sewing things, like it's just out of my wheelhouse, you know? And like, who's to say I never will learn it, but it's just like right now that's not where my time and interests lie. But yeah, I just feel very frustrated that I haven't been able to participate in like truly sustainable fashion the way I would like to. I would like for my entire closet to be either like secondhand or sustainable brands, and like I'm close-ish, but then it comes to the point of like, oh, I'm like evolving as a person, so I want my style to reflect that. It's not like I'm evolving with trends and I want to reflect trends in my wardrobe. Like I'm very much so against that, but at the same time I'm still allowed to evolve as a person, and my style is allowed to do so as well. So I don't know, I just wish like it was just more accessible for people. And that is like my biggest thing, is like, people want sustainable fashion, but if they can't afford it, how are you ever going to promote it? And even thrifting, like thrifting is a time and energy consumption. Like when I tell you I was looking for brands and stuff, I was on ThredUp, I was on The Real Real, I was on Depop, I was on Poshmark, like looking for secondhand options of things I was finding online. Like that's how deep in the shits I was, trying to like be conscious of like what I was buying. But you know, like not everyone can afford to take that time. Time is a luxury, you know, in a sense. Not everyone, like we all have the same 24 hours, whatever, but like we all have to spend it very differently from one another. And like, I definitely recognize that. But I just wish it was more accessible. I mean, even things like a pack of period panties, 3 is $90. Like that is a bit insane, no? I do have a coupon code if you want to check it out below, but it's just things like that get like, ugh, just drive me crazy. But the thing is, it feels like there's not much I can personally do about it, because the demand for a polyester product is just so high that it's cheapened the supply, or there's so much glut of supply that is cheapened, but also the demand is there to meet it when we have things like Shein pumping out like millions of garments every, I don't know, month or so. It's like, it's an insane number, and it's like unfathomable to me. But cotton, hemp, silk, wool, like those things just will not be able to compete with that supply, because the demand simply isn't there. It's like, I mean, maybe I'm just kind of like overgeneralizing it and making it super basic, but like from an outsider's point of view, of like a consumer, like that's what it looks like to me, is that the demand just isn't there. But the demand is never going to spark if your consumers can never afford your products. Like, and I'm not talking about the 30-year-old woman, and I'm kind of talking, actually no, I am kind of talking about like the woman that's in her 30s who is like making good career money, but they want to buy things on Shein instead of Everlane, because Everlane is charging 5 times the price of a nice top that Shein is, but it's more trendy, it's more affordable. And it's just like, I think there's a disconnect with people not seeing that sustainable fashion is not meant to be trendy, it's not meant to be thrown away, but they do want it cheap. But when you make things cheap like that, you're, you know, targeting, like, you're missing out on things like workmanship. So maybe your clothes are poorly made and constructed, and then you're also maybe paying people not their worth, essentially. So it's like you're paying them pennies on the dollar when they really should be paid more than that. Or like something, I don't know, maybe we can use AI to make clothes instead of like poetry. Just a thought. Maybe we can actually like make it to cut costs and manufacturing of sustainable clothes. I don't know, someone do something somewhere. But yeah, I just kind of feel like sometimes I get so frustrated, I just kind of like give up on being like a ride or die, true and tried hard environmentalist. And like, I have to admit, I've bought a lot of t-shirts from Uniqlo lately, these little baby tees. I think they're absolutely adorable, but I don't want to buy from Skims, and Uniqlo was like the next best option, because anywhere else I looked for a t-shirt it was $50 versus like $15 at Uniqlo. And obviously my mindset, I'm like, well, I'm gonna wear it until it falls apart, but I don't want to spend $50 for 5 tops. I'd rather spend $15 and like get a few. So that was just like my justification, but I find myself coming across that like a lot more often than not. And that's the issue, that's my frustration. And I don't know, I hope you guys like hear me on this and relate. Honestly, I hope you don't relate. Maybe like there's a brand that you absolutely stinking love that I'm overlooking and just simply don't know about. But I do, if I ever like crave like a trendy piece, or like I really think something that is trending could be a long-lasting staple in my wardrobe, I try to secondhand shop it for it, whether it's like on Depop or like in a thrift store or something, but I don't do that all the time. So when I want to like stock my wardrobe with staples, that's where I'm really like running into trouble. It's like, I want an elevated basics kind of brand that's good for the planet, good for the people, donates to charity, is run on renewables. Like that's a big ask, I get that, and it's affordable. But I don't know, I think like it can't be, impossible. It can't be this like hidden mirage of things. And I don't know, I just wanted to talk about it because sometimes I do feel like, oh, I'm a bad environmentalist because I bought 5 t-shirts from Uniqlo. But then at the same time, I'm like, okay, well, truly, like, I still take public transit. I don't, you know, eat out a lot. I'm not like wasting a bunch of like plastic all the time. Like, I feel like a pretty minimal person. I don't have a lot of single-use products. Like, I barely have any single-use products. Everything I have is like reusable or rechargeable or, you know, long-lasting, or I've had it for years and years on end. So it's like some give and take, and I just wish, because I love fashion so much and I love style and I love putting things together, I just wish that part of the equation for me would like equal out. But you know, you win some, you lose some. But all this to say, I really hope you guys aren't giving up on being environmentalists, because it does get hard sometimes. Like I said, you can't just be a fair weather environmentalist. You kind of have to stick in and day out. And yeah, systems will change as long as we will it to, write to the right people, show that there's demand for it with either your dollar or just like literally talking to someone about it. But I don't know, maybe I'll be the person that makes elevated basics sustainable and affordable. Who knows? Who knows? Maybe I'm just putting that out there into the universe, but I mean, that would be really cool. So yeah, don't give up on the good fight. You know, we're out here. It's good to influence your immediate circle. Like, my boyfriend drives a Tesla now. Do I love Elon Musk? Absolutely not. I think he's a weirdo among many other names. I'm not going to call him on the internet, but at least, you know, there's an electric car in the driveway versus another gas-powered car, and like that is like something of immediate influence. And like even at work, like I have people refilling water bottles with the Brita filter, which feels really good, because when we first moved into our temporary space, we just had cases and cases and cases of water bottles, and now no more. So I feel really good about that. You know, it's the small wins day in and day out that kind of keep me moving, keep me motivated. You know, just like I'm saying, don't give up the good fight. There are people out there that feel like you know, find your community. I have my community mostly online. I find that like since moving out of New York City, I don't have like a ton of like-minded people that I know of yet, just because I'm settling into a new area. So, and even then, I'm not fully gonna settle into this area. I'm still gonna be moving in a few months, so this is just like an in-between kind of time. But online community is great. That's why I have you guys. I love talking to you and kind of sharing my thoughts and starting a conversation about it, because that's what we're here to do, right? We're here to talk about the world's issues and air our grievances and support one another and be there. So that's going to be it for today's video. It was just basically me complaining about how sustainable fashion is hard to afford and even harder to find, honestly. Sometimes I like look at a brand like Quince, for example. I was like, oh my god, this brand is amazing. And then I looked on Good On You and I see that like they don't really use sustainable materials, they don't really pay workers very well, like they're kind of shady. So I was like, you know what, never mind. But yeah, thanks so much for watching. Comment down below any brand recommendations you have. I will say I love Parade for like basic like bras, underwear, bodysuits, t-shirts. I actually haven't tried their t-shirts or bodysuits, but like they have a bunch of affordable stuff that is good quality, and they do have social responsibility, so I really love that about them. But any other brands you guys have, let me know down below. I would love to check them out, because I'm definitely in need of like an overhaul. This is, like I said, in my closet. Maybe I should show you guys. It's kind of what we're working with. You know, I have pants, some button downs, some blazers, but you know, some sweaters. But I'm a girl who wants to express herself through her clothing. Is there something wrong with that? Anyway, stick around. There's a video right after this one recommended just for you that I think you'd really enjoy. Also, I'll be here every Sunday. Hopefully, I'm really trying to get back on my grind and push these videos out, the ones that I think are useful, helpful, informative, and maybe help start your environmental journey. Who knows? That is going to be all for me today. I love you so much. Don't forget to be kind to yourself, others, and the planet, and I'll catch you next Sunday. Bye.